Good morning, everybody. It's Nigel Giam here, Lead Training Programme Director for St Marys Scheme and RCA and AKT Trainer for HEE London. I'm really happy to have one of our own here, James, one of the best at St Marys. 3 years flies fast, doesn't it, James?
Yeah, really fast.
Good. Well, coming to the end, lovely to have you on. I thought it would be really good if we could maybe share your RCA experience. Obviously, a very tough exam. Congratulations on passing.
Thank you.
How long do you think an ST really needs to put aside in terms of, trying to get those recordings? How long did you guys put aside?
I mean, in terms of just recording, I think 3 to 4 months is probably a good ballpark figure. I think you do need to sit down early with your clinical supervisor as well and come up with a battle plan about the kind of structural things you need in place. So making sure that practice team is aware when you're recording, so they're not going to interrupt you. Yeah. Making sure your video and audio quality software is good and you're going to be able to make good recordings, making sure the reception have consent forms so that patients can read it in the waiting room. So I think having that kind of structural thing early on. So it's probably 3 to 4 months recording, but prepping for that even a little bit before.
Yeah, absolutely. And just actually be quite interested to know, because obviously within our own VTS, we were able to listen to recordings, your recordings, some of the other STs, and that was a very useful process. What did you take away listening to sort of other people's recordings? What was the main take-home message for you?
Well, I think you just get to experience how other people are consulting with real patients. And I think you don't get enough of that after medical school and being a junior doctor, and especially in GP land, you don't really get a good opportunity to see how your peers are recording, how they're consulting, and the recordings give you an opportunity to take things away that you think are working, phrases, how they kind of move between the different domains of the consultation, from sort of data gathering to clinical management to safety netting. And then sometimes, it's things that you see that aren't working as well, and then you can identify that in your own practice. So I think it can be a really useful exercise.
And I think actually for us in particular at St Marys, it was really nice because actually it was a time when we got back to face-to-face teaching and sort of had that study group ethos, which we kind of lost with the RCA completely, which we used to have with the CSA. Now, you mentioned obviously moving from domain to domain to domain, and we've kind of highlighted the use of a mark sheet and specifically being objective. When you kind of marked your own consultations, what kind of areas did you find that you were kind of falling down on? What were your kind of weaknesses in the consultation?
At the beginning, I didn't leave enough time for clinical management. So I scored quite well in data gathering and interpersonal skills, but I lost a lot of marks, sometimes even getting a 1 in clinical management when I first started marking, simply because I hadn't hit enough of the criteria on the sort of systematic mark scheme. And then by leaving enough time, sort of 5 or 6 minutes at the end of the consult to actually dedicate to clinical management, I started to score much better.
Okay. Now I've watched a couple of your consultations, was very impressed by your consultations, but we kind of focused a bit on, I suppose, the move from being doctor driven to being patient centered. What was your kind of take home message after, we kind of looked at some of your consultations around that? How did you make yourself more patient centered?
I think to remember that although with these consultations you are recording, it's going to be an exam, that they're real patients with real problems. And I think when you start to do things which look a little bit artificial and you're thinking about not just your doctor agenda, but you're thinking about your exam agenda, I've got to score these marks. I think if you start trying to insert those things quite artificially into the consult, it really is quite obvious to both the examiner and the patient. And the whole consultation sort of doesn't work as well as thinking about this as a real patient coming to see you and how day-to-day practice you would really help them.
Yeah. And perhaps actually we could sort of think about a consultation that I did watch of yours, which I was really impressed by, which was a woman who'd had a fall at home, was adamant to be seen, but also adamant not to go to hospital. But it was clear from the consultation she needed to be in hospital. How did you go about negotiating that? Because she was quite a challenging patient, wasn't she? I mean, she was quite a complex patient.
She was very, she had a very strong kind of belief when she rang up that she was not going to be going into hospital and she wanted to be treated at home. And I think the negotiation that happened was really about establishing her understanding, explaining to her my reasoning and the kind of principles that were underpinning my reasoning, rather than just sort of saying, no, this isn't something that we can handle. It's going through the kind of things that you're already thinking about, but making that very clear to a patient who might be coming into the consultation from a completely different perspective and no medical training or understanding. and telling her that, you know, a neurosurgical team might need to look at your, you know, the spinal team might need to look at your back, or you could be left with significant sort of paralysis, or probably that was a real turning point for her, where she realized, yeah, this can't be managed at home.
Absolutely. So actually sharing of that, rather than just saying, here are options, what would you like to do, which might lead to actually a very dangerous patient-driven decision. So a really informed choice. Now, just I suppose wrapping up, what would be your take-home message for certainly our ST2s who are going to be sitting this in the next academic year, and also for others out there who might feel, you know, a little bit down because obviously they've missed the marks, you know, just by a couple of marks. What's your take-home message for these guys prepping up?
I think to not get too disheartened, I think work smart, don't work too hard, in the sense of don't try and record every single day. I started doing that at the beginning and it became really onerous, quite miserable. Every day felt like an exam day. Every recording that wasn't suitable felt like a failure. So I think set yourself up for success. Think about having some dedicated clinical time, RCA clinics, which are better set up. You know, perhaps more appropriate patients are booked in, having a discussion and a kind of battle plan with your clinical supervisor about how you're going to approach the situation just makes you feel a lot more grounded. And it sort of sets you up for success.
Excellent. And we have enjoyed your success. You came in with a battle plan, you won the battle. So congratulatory drinks on next day, half day release. James, it's been a pleasure having you on this morning. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon on half day release. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
So thanks so much to James, one of my St Mary's ST registrars. I'm so happy for his success. And as he highlighted, you've got to have a game plan. You've got to have a strategy. You've got to have a battle plan. So very, very important that you think strategically. In terms of case selection, again, do check the college website. There are a number of low clinical challenge cases that you will definitely want to avoid. So make sure that actually, if you are having a dedicated RCA clinic, you're actually getting those kind of cases which are going to likely give you a better yield. And specifically, again, bringing us back to that kind of mark sheet and thinking about how you can objectively mark yourself, identify the areas that you're consistently falling down on, making sure that actually, if you do open up a patient size, that actually you use it, and most importantly, readdress it to reach an informed choice. Really moving away from that kind of patient-driven consultation to that patient-centered consultation, but ultimately not taking over to make it a doctor-driven consultation. So thank you so much for listening to this one. Again, do feel free to use the resources on MentorMRCGP.com. All of these audio videos have been uploaded to my YouTube channel under a separate channel list with interviews with other ST3s. Do take a look at that. Hope you have a great day and look forward to the next one. Many thanks.